true, but one of the opportunities for the people here is something you identified. You showed all those properties that cost the bank $4 million. If there's a way for these pool people to come in and buy the properties at 30 cents on the dollar, which is what they're looking at, and keeping people in their homes by reducing the capital on the properties, it keeps a lot of those homes out of foreclosure, minimizes to a certain, at least gives the banks certainty as to what their losses are. So I'm not saying either is better than the other. I'm saying I think they're all going to be part of a very complicated, integrated solution that we're going to need to get through this problem, because the numbers are never going to be worse than they are in the next couple of years.
Let me just add, I want to just respond to that one. H.R. 3221, part of what it does is allow HUD to buy the first at a discount. So literally in Moreno Valley, this is the way it would work. You'd have a $400,000 existing trust deed in Moreno Valley. The house is now worth $200. HUD would be able to offer $180 to the lender. That would be the short sale. The lender would take a $220 loss. The person would get to stay in the property, now only owe $180, plus there's other things. There's a second by HUD, and there's a partnership with HUD on future equity. Here's my biggest concern with that. The program is very isolated in that it's only available for someone that signed up for an adjustable mortgage that, when it changes, takes a very large portion of their income. The person that lives next door to them that struggled to qualify for a fixed loan is not eligible, and when they hear that they just live next door, now I really literally play this out every day when I go see a property that we buy. We're buying a house for $85,000 and the next door guy is watering his grass. This just happened to me. And I remember thinking, what if this poor guy understood that his house is just worth a third of what he owes on it? So here's my problem is that if I live next door to a guy that's let his grass grow brown, and then all of a sudden one day he gets revitalized and starts watering and planting, I might just be curious and walk over there and go, what's the deal? And he says, man, you won't believe it. He said, I don't owe $400 now, I owe $180. And I go, how do you get that plan? He says, you got to have this type of mortgage taken in between these kind of dates. And I didn't fib on my loan app, so I don't have it. I might be tempted to walk in a non-recourse state if it costs me $220 to stay. And that's the problem with the solution, is that the domino might be worse than the original problem. Okay. I'm not trying to be negative. I'm just playing this one out. Now, Philip, I want to ask you this question. Since you deal with people that make loan decisions constantly, is it becoming more acceptable in their minds to bail from a mortgage that they have?
Without a question. The conversation, I've had so many people come up to me recently, just in the last few months, specifically saying, don't talk to me about the moral.
Yeah, you emailed me, forget the moral conversation completely.
Tell me what it's going to do to my credit. Tell me what it's going to do to, can I buy this property, can I not? And that's why Fannie and Freddie put in that new guideline like I spoke about in the speech. You know, my concern is that, based on what we're just talking about, is I see these bills passed, and I see how the government passes the bill that raised the Fannie Mae conforming limit to 729.5. And everyone thought that was going to have a huge stimulus to the economy, right? The problem is that we were excited about it. As lenders, we were thrilled. Wow, the new conforming loan limit's going to be 729. And then we got the guidelines. And then we're like, well, it's not really. I mean, some loans can qualify at 729, but the majority of them were still down to the 417. So when I see these politicians passing these bills with these preconceived notions it's going to give stimulus to the market, but then at the bottom line, people can't qualify.
Yeah, now see, I think I was going to just talk about what you said, Christopher, is that at the end of the day, we got a median price that was ridiculous when you look at the median income of our state. And I guess we still have some more damage to do before we get back to some reasonable number.
Yeah, I mean, people always worry about not qualifying. Well, there's two solutions to that. You want to change the qualifications. Another 6 months of these price declines, and everybody's going to be able to qualify, right?
Yeah, affordable housing will kind of take care of itself, actually. Yes, sir.
Well, you've touched on something, though, Bruce, that I think is devastating for the society. Anything that you do to increase the lack of personal responsibility will eventually destroy a society. I'm absolutely convinced of that. And that is what you spoke about. If I have qualified and I am diligent on my $400,000 loan, and you give my neighbor a $200,000 discount because he was irresponsible, unfortunately, there was a gentleman that was president of the United States not long ago that I think set us on a track that we've all had to reap the rewards from. And I'm not a politician, but honesty, folks, is a very critical fabric for a society to survive on. And once you destroy that, then you're looking at something far bigger and far worse than the housing problem.
Christopher, I wanted to ask a question. This is sort of an economic question. It's twofold. We just saw Merrill Lynch accept 22 cents on the dollar for a $30 billion package of CDOs. Then when I read the fine print, they actually got about 5% in cash, and they carried back a note and guaranteed the pile. So they didn't get a lot for it. My question is, whose money was that? Whose dollars got discounted? Was Merrill Lynch ever capable of taking that personal hit? Or in other words, is that real people's money, like people in this room?
Well, I mean, if you're invested in Merrill Lynch, yeah, it's your cash. I mean, yeah, that's
No, I'm sorry.
obviously the case.
Is it part of?
But you're raising an interesting point, which is you know, what is the state of the financial system, right? So you brought that up. 22 cents on the dollar. They called it that, as if somehow the sale was complete and they were no longer exposed to the risk. You read the fine line, they're still exposed to that risk. In other words, this is nothing more than another sieve. It's just another special instrument vehicle. In this case, it's just a third party as opposed to some in-house, you know, accounting mechanism. The key point I think we have to understand about our financial system is, you know, whatever you're thinking housing is going through, understand that the financial system is a wreck right now. And the kind of, take IndyMac, for example. IndyMac rolled over, their loan loss provisions that when they rolled over was about 0.5% or 1% of their overall value of the bank. The FDIC walks in, the first thing they say, within 24 hours, they go, yeah, we're going to take a $4 to $8 billion haircut in this bank. In other words, somewhere between 13 and 25% of the value of the bank. And every single bank is in this situation right now. So, you know, you're right, we got to worry about the housing market, but we also have to worry about these financial markets because no one's going to have any cash. So watch out there, it's a big mess.
Okay,